discussion? All in favor? Congratulations, Jerry. And how about nominations for secretary?
Well, Mary Beth's not here.
In keeping with
That's an
practice.
excellent
I guess
point.
she gets one. So I nominate
Is that
Beth
enough?
Strickland for secretary.
I second.
Any further nominations? Discussion? All in favor? Congratulations,
in.
Mary Beth. And with that, I think we
Yeah,
need,
time next time.
we need a motion to go into executive session, is that right?
Yes, with intent to return to open
Is that
session.
a roll call vote?
Yes.
Yes. Anybody want to read this motion? Oh, you're
I
on
will,
roll.
okay. I move to executive session to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property due to the chair's determination that a discussion regarding this matter in an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the position of the committee with the intent to return to open meeting.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Roll call.
Oh, right.
Oh, sorry. Roger?
Yes. Aye.
Yes.
Wayne?
Yes.
Yes.
Ready to go.
Here.
Oh, that's okay.
We're back from executive session. At this point, we're going to open the public hearing on school choice. I'll turn it over to you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Desmond. The meeting, as Mr. Desmond pointed out, will begin with a public hearing on school choice. I will provide a brief overview of the school choice option and highlight its components. The chairperson will welcome any discussion on this topic and will close the public hearing. A vote will be taken during the regular meeting agenda. Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 76, Section 12B requires that each year, school committees consider whether their district should be in a school choice program during the upcoming school year. If they choose not to accept school choice pupils from other districts, they must take a vote prior to June 1 and report the results to the Department of Education. If we do not vote by June 1st, 2015, we automatically become a school choice district. This vote is recorded and forwarded to the Department of Education. Historically, Southborough Public Schools has not been a participant in school choice, and it is my recommendation again this evening to the Southborough School Committee that we do not choose to participate in the FY 2016 school year. Students who are enrolled under school choice program options are entitled to remain in the district through grade 8. My recommendation is based on the following: the current fluctuation of class enrollments during any given school year, the impact on enrollments in successive school years. The $5,000 reimbursement per child is equal or less than 1/3 of the actual per pupil expenditure in our schools, and many neighboring districts are not now identified as school choice districts. I know we'll be taking about in the agenda, in the regular meeting as well.
Okay. Open up to public comment at this point. There being none, I'm just going to and this closes the public hearing on school choice. We move on to our regular meeting and start as usual with audience sharing. Anyone have anything to share? Okay then, let's move to new business. Try your middle school improvement plan.
Well, I think Mr. LaVoy and Mr. Hirschak have a very exciting school improvement plan to present. I know they've been working hard at highlighting the successes of their prior plan and then giving us some foreshadowing of what is in the future for Trotter Middle School. We're excited to hear what they have to share.
No, we think we can take that position. Dave, would you mind getting the middle light back there? Good evening, everyone. How are we doing? Doing well. For those that were listening live, I do want to make sure they have to adjust their DVRs because we started a little late this evening and make sure we capture the entire school improvement plan for Trotter Middle School. I know that's important for everyone.
It's on the website now.
It's on the web, that's
You know,
true. But just in case they just benefit from the DVR, they've got to make that adjustment. So I really want to thank the committee and the audience for the opportunity to share not only what has been happening at Trotter, but what will be happening, which is very exciting changes that we're about to embark on in the very near future. I'm joined by Assistant Principal Gary Hershek, and we actually have one of our school council members, Pam Lunder, in the audience to help support and heckle me as I go through the plan. She's very good at that. So, the plan for this evening's presentation is actually twofold. First, I'm going to share our school improvement plan for 2015 to 2017, and then I'm going to share more specifics about the new schedule, the major schedule changes that Trotter is having, and some of the details about that. If I attempted to talk about the schedule in one dosing, I think we would all be completely overwhelmed. So we're going to scaffold that out for everyone as best we can and give a very good overview and then get some of the details tonight. I also provided at each of the seats a couple of pieces of information. One is our school improvement plan, which has a few pages of the list of accomplishments that we've had over the years, the 4 goals that we're outlining for the upcoming few years, and then the process of review that we engage in. In addition to that, we have the new schedule talking points for parents. This is what's going to be presented next Monday at our new schedule presentation for parents, which will happen at 9 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. So you're welcome to join that if you'd like to get a little more of the detail. And the third item is a comparison of the old to new schedules by grade that give you a nice little visual of what we're talking about. Okay? So I'm going to dive right into the school improvement plan for Trotter. Upon review of our old plan, we made significant progress towards and have achieved many of the benchmarks we set out to do. We have detailed the accomplishments in the first few pages of the document, and feel free to peruse that as you wish. But what we decided to do for the 2015 to 2017 plan is to find some greater focus. I think every year, every principal can always add another goal and reflect upon the old, but you never want to get rid of those old goals, and you don't want to add too many goals onto it to spread things out too thin. So Gary and I, a team of teachers in collaboration with the central office, really tried to identify 4 goal areas for us. And the 4 goal areas are the new schedule, which is number 1 on our list, which I'll talk about later in the presentation. The second is on curriculum. As always, we are doing a comprehensive review of our curriculum, but we have many shifts that are going to be happening because of the new schedule. In particular, our science and technology curriculums are going to be adjusting. We're enhancing it in a variety of different ways, and we'll talk a little bit more specifically about that later. It is in direct connection to the next generation science standards, and we'll really try to focus on creating a 21st century learning environment for our students. Kind of the highlight of all of that is I'm very happy to report that we are procuring equipment, supplies, hardware, and software to enhance our tech ed program. We have also started to produce STEM-like experiences for our students, and that will allow them to engage in the full engineering process, which will incorporate elements of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Our science and math teachers will be partnering with WPI to develop this curriculum, and that work is not waiting until next year. We're actually starting in the next few weeks where WPI representatives are coming out and starting that work of looking at our current course of study and how to make those adjustments. The opportunity that we've been awarded with the resources and the time to work with WPI is just fantastic. We really are looking forward to it. People are excited, a little nervous, but definitely excited about what that change will bring. In connection with that, our third goal is technology, which I think is a staple in all school improvement plans of all of our schools. And to kind of, at the core of that, two Trotter teachers, Sandy Scordato and Steve Brady, as well as Gary and I, participated on the tech plan development committee, which Greg and Jean chaired. And from that very proactive and constructive conversation, we took a lot of those elements back to Trotter and made them more real for what we were doing at our building. And because of that forward thinking, we actually divided that goal up into the 3 sections that are highlighted in the tech plan: infrastructure, student learning, and professional development for teachers. In addition, we are going to a 2-to-1 experience for 6th graders at Trotter, with the idea that in the near future, we'll be expanding that 2-to-1 experience for both 7th and 8th graders. That's going to be a cross-platform between Chromebooks and iPads, and teachers are currently exploring all different devices to see which one they're going to pick. I don't know if we're going to have all the options available to them, but we're going to be certainly close to get them what they would need to make it very functional for their curriculums. Okay? The highlight of that over the past year has been the exploration we have done with Chromebooks and the piloting of that in a lot of different ways. We just find that the Chromebooks are tremendously reliable and dependable for middle school curriculum and a middle school experience, and that's what we're really going to be expanding upon in the years to come. And I think teachers, as soon as they get their hands on them, have just sponged it all together and have brought together a really nice experience for the kids. And you're probably sick of hearing from me, so Captain Hershek is up next here to talk about goal number 4.
Thanks, Keith. Part of our school improvement plan is to continue to look at school culture and school climate. We believe that when you have a healthy school culture, it can have such an impact on student achievement and learning. And so it's been a major focus for us. We have great opportunities to provide strong programming for our students. We have tremendous traditions here at Trotter. For people who are here, volleyball marathon, fun run, first 2-day experience are traditions that have been here and will continue to thrive. We were very fortunate in the last year to have Team Hoyt, Rick and Dick Hoyt, father and son combination, who run marathons and triathlons, come and speak to our students. In addition, we also had the filmmakers of Shooting Beauty, which was a documentary that captured adults with disabilities, and they were given cameras to chronicle their lives. And those 2 presentations were wonderful experiences for our students. They talked about overcoming challenges, setting goals, acceptance, and diversity. We will continue to provide those programming. In addition, we think it's critical for us to build and strengthen our school connectedness. It is so important that when students see and believe that our teachers care about their learning and their personal growth, the impact that can have on their achievement here. We maintain that by having high expectations in all classroom settings. We want to build positive relationships between teachers and students, and we want to ensure that students feel safe both physically and emotionally. This process will take place by analyzing the Metro West Health Survey data. They do a wonderful job extracting that information, and that adult and student connectedness is something that we'll use as part of our team level discussions and faculty discussions. And then from there, hopefully we can cultivate some more programming to enrich that experience. Another piece is looking at some school stressors, and part of this will be looking at homework. We had a great conversation at the beginning of this year about homework philosophy and practices as it pertains to our assessment work, and it really helped galvanize some of our discussions. Hoping that we can use that basis and foundation and look at how we apply homework as it applies to the new schedule, and maybe look at certain things like no homework days throughout the course of the year as a celebration of school culture and to alleviate some of those burdens on students and families. And lastly, I think we're going to continue to promote community service and service learning, use school council, student government as a vehicle to do this. We're very proud of our community service. We've had thousands of hours of community service performed by our students on an annual basis. We want to continue to celebrate those achievements and expand those. Lastly, we just want to make sure that students have connections not only within the classroom, but outside the school as well, and maybe looking at expanding our extracurriculars.
Excellent, thank you. So as we're looking at the 4 goal areas, we did try to create that focus that we were aiming for. The schedule, which I'll get into, also kind of gives that the focus that we need for the different other elements of it. Certainly the curriculum and the enhancement of science and technology is something we've been wanting to do for years, and we really have some great opportunities ahead of us in regards to that development. Certainly technology and the support we've gotten for the upcoming year, and infrastructure and devices and PD for teachers is something that we're really excited about for the next chapter of Trotter. And as Gary highlighted very well, the real focus on school climate and making sure that kids do have a true, genuine connectedness to the middle school experience, and that's what we want to ensure, which really leads nicely into the schedule. So before I get into the schedule, does anyone have any questions about the 4 goals or any in particulars about that? Relatively straightforward. All right, good. Well, I will move on to the schedule. Okay. The document that kind of helps support a lot of the logistics are the talking points that are going to be shared with parents on Monday and will be up on our website. And the other thing that kind of pulls it together is, yeah, okay, this is great, but what does it all mean? This is the change of the schedule. So this gets down to the bones of what kids are actually going to be doing. You know, within that, though, you'll see not every kid takes band, not every kid takes orchestra, but it gives a good capture of what is available at different times. And these comparison schedules don't necessarily capture all of the options, but more of what will be the general course of study for kids. Okay? So the new schedule and that review process started about 4 years ago. And the real motivation behind looking at a new schedule was to develop a richer experience with more time on learning for students and more time in the classroom to really explore the curriculum and go deeper. And what we had previously certainly wasn't broken, but kids were moving a lot. There were a lot of bells throughout the day, and every 40 minutes they were moving on to the next thing. And I think collectively, slowing down that pace, getting more time in the classroom was really what we were trying to develop. So over the last 4 years, I visited different middle schools. We worked with a private consultant for a while. We really explored our options because although we wanted to get more time in the seats, we certainly didn't want to sacrifice any of the special programming that we've developed over the years. So that was a balance that we had to try to strike, and I think we did that. And what's going to happen is, you know, we're not set as this being our new schedule for the next 2 decades. I think the review process is going to be almost as important as the development of the new schedule. So we're going to really look at that as we go. I really can't thank the Trotter teachers enough. They have been amazingly patient, amazingly reflective around this whole process. I drove most of the process, but along the way, teams of teachers would meet with me, talk about different aspects of how they operate, what their curriculum needs are, how their day goes, and how we can enhance it. So yes, we went out and explored all the different options that we could nationally and locally, but we also went internally to really find out what the teachers needed and wanted to help enhance their classroom experiences. And it came down to, I need more minutes. I don't think there's ever been a teacher that would say, I have too much time to work with my kids. So in this case, we really wanted to answer that call. And like I said before, the comparison kind of gives the comparison schedules give that clear snapshot of what people can look at as far as the changes. As far as logistics are concerned, this is what kind of boils down to, is that we currently have 8 period days that are 40 minutes long. And then with our new schedule, we are going to have 7 period days that are 47 minutes long, which you might not think that's a lot, but over the course of a year, if a student has that class every day, that's 21 hours of additional instruction that will occur over the 180-day school year, which is pretty significant, and they can do certainly a lot with. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of what is occurring. When we kind of dive down a little deeper, we talk about the preservation of a high-quality middle school experience, and to our chagrin, Mrs. Infantino, our longtime family and consumer science teacher, is going to be retiring in October of 2015. And because of that, fiscal constraints and, honestly, the lack of teachers certified in family and consumer science, we're no longer going to be able to continue that program as we have known and loved it to be. So that is certainly something that I'm going to get some oohs and ahs over when I present this, and I already have in different ways. But the caveat of that is we are going to be able to increase our science and technology experience for kids and give them a lot more of that STEM type experience that we're aiming to achieve. So that's one of the benefits, along with a variety of others, but that gets really deep into the detail. Go on to the English course. The other major change that is happening won't be necessarily seen in 6th grade, but in 7th and 8th grade we are reconfiguring our English course, which will be a literature-based course that has a high focus on writing. And with that, what that allows is for students that do not take Spanish or French to still have the opportunity to take reading, which is roughly about 30% of our students at each grade level. So about 70% of the students take either French or Spanish formally in 7th and 8th grade, and about 30% do not. So instead of those students taking a variety of electives and other things, they're actually going to get more reading instruction to dive in a little more individualized, to really get into strategies of comprehension, picking apart of complex text, and doing a lot of the nonfiction stuff that we like to do more and more frequently. So that is the major change with the English courses that we are going to offer. And I think kind of let me pull up that comparison, because that's the real snapshot here. What we're really going to try to achieve is to minimize passing time, create more opportunities inside the classroom, and so far, even the work that we've done preliminarily with this, we're already yielding good results, and teachers are like, wow, I never knew that was even possible. So when you're having those types of conversations, the opportunity here is great, and we're really looking forward to it. I do think there's a level of anxiety around it of, okay, anytime there is change, how much change are we going to be able to tolerate? But this, I think, is a very calibrated amount of change that we're ready to take on, and I'm excited to see it all come together, which will start at the September of next year. So that is the major part of the presentation, but I really welcome any questions about either the school improvement plan or the new schedule. Yes, Jerry?
Yeah, one question, Keith. You were saying that there'd be more classroom time. Now, I'm just looking at this. It appears that it's going to be because there's less transitioning
That's right.
between classes.
That's
So
right.
you're going to actually get rid of one whole transition period.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And that basically is then spread out over 7 periods.
Yep.
Which is the increase of 7 minutes per period. Which, if you think, that's like, oh, that's not really a lot. But when we go and observe classrooms, and when you have kids migrating from one end of the building to another, you lose kids on the front end and the back end. And you really, with a 40-minute period, you're actually getting 28 minutes of quality instruction. With this, because we're reducing the number of passing periods, that 28 minutes is probably going to get closer to 40. Because there'll be less transition, and there'll just be simply more time to gain kids for quality instruction. So we really think that's going to be this unknown benefit that's going to be captured, because that's what came from the research when I was talking to other schools. They love their schedule. Like, how are you able to do this? I'm like, well, we have 40-minute periods and we have 8 periods a day. They're like, that's how. So knowing that we're going down and expanding periods, I think we're going to automatically improve that experience. Yeah. Hey,
The
Beth?
schedule's still going to rotate by day, so. you may-
Mosaic, your favorite word, Barbara loves the mosaic. I'm unsure yet. Right now, I kind of wanted to show it so people could
Right.
see it a little clearer.
Right, that makes it good.
We're exploring a couple of different options, but we do have some part-time staff, so we can't, we can't just go ahead and jumble it completely.
Right.
We're looking to do things like, let's say if this were the schedule, let's say the bottom here, the 6th grade new schedule, and you don't want every end of the day to end with music and art, or phys ed, or tech ed, or directed study, or something like that. What we were kind of toying around with was taking those first 3 periods on Monday and making them the last 3 periods on Tuesday, put them in the middle on Wednesday, and kind of rotate that through. We're exploring those options because I don't think it would be beneficial for a kid to start their day in a core academic class that might not be their favorite. Yeah,
But
so
in
we
the
are
course
going to
of
look
high
at that.
school, that happens.
That's right.
Doesn't it,
But if we want, I think one of the
I actually
benefits
love
of the
middle school.
mosaic,
I
You-
think there's a huge benefit
Huge, yeah.
because you're not always getting math last class of the day when you're tired and
Right.
such. So I think from the teacher's point of view, but I understand, I honestly never knew how you did it. I always kudos to you for being able to do it before, but,
it's
know.
it's a puzzle,
yeah.
and sometimes it's easy,
Right.
and sometimes it's a little more challenging. I think because of the changes we made, it's actually going to make that process a little easier. We might be able to get even more gain out of it, but I don't want to commit to it yet
Yeah.
until we actually get students into their schedules and look at how everything is shaping up. Then we can make some of those moves with services and all the other things related.
Right.
Yeah,
A few variables to work,
a few.
just wonder.
And I think the other thing that's worth noting is, with the schedule, we don't just plug this into a computer. Virtually, I would say 80+% of our students are hand scheduled into their classes. They're put with thought into their placement of teachers and combinations of kids and what their day is going to be like. So 80% of our students are hand scheduled. So that is a huge burden. It is an important one because it's all about what their experience becomes. So I'm kind of, looking forward to that process this summer and seeing what we get, and then making some decisions about shuffling or mosaicing, is that the word, but making it specialized. Yeah. Any more questions? Yes,
I have a couple.
please.
I see in grade 6 we have directed study.
Yes.
What is that?
What we're going to aim to do is have students who, for example, have Mrs. Lunder for reading. They would have Mrs. Lunder for that directed study. So they could get that extra help with having to travel to the other end, and then she can do a little more direction, a little more focus on what's happening with those groups of students. So the idea would be that Wednesday last period, as this example would be, Mrs. Lunder would have 15 of her students with her. So yeah, sure, some of them can get their homework done, but she can also pull small groups of kids together to review a chapter that was a little confusing, or work on a writing assignment that kids fell behind on, do a little of that work that can be done and focus their efforts. That would be the idea.
And how many study periods are being eliminated?
That's a great question, because if a student in the old schedule took band, chorus, and orchestra, they virtually didn't have a study at all.
I don't think my kids had one.
Correct.
In 3 years, and all, anyway.
So right there, 80+% of students had those 4 periods as studies. So the average this year was in 6th grade, a student had 5 study periods a week. That's getting reduced down to 2 or 3. That's probably going to be the average. So if you look at that bottom schedule, you'll see where band, chorus, and orchestra are. They would probably have studies there, and then those directed studies would be one of the other electives that we're working on, or it could be a study hall as well, or a general study, not a directed one, which we're really trying to get away from. A lot fewer of those, like substantially less number of study halls.
And it looks like the band workshops and the orchestra workshops go away.
They do not. They're actually in there, they just look a little different. So, for example, let's say if it's just a band student, if a student takes band on Thursday, 6th period, and Thursday, 7th period, that's when they would have their whole group rehearsals. And then where orchestra is listed, I could put a slash there and put band workshop. So they wouldn't be in orchestra, they would be in their band workshop at that time. I just did that to make it, because the options are actually quite extensive when you get down to those two lower periods. So, that's where the band, we were very fortunate to preserve the band workshops, and it did work out that way.
Good.
Now look down to 7th grade. 7th grade is where things, and 7th and 8th grade are where things come together a little more clear as far as the reconfiguration of ELA. So for a new 7th grade student, you have ELA, math, science, social studies, and then they either take Spanish, French, or reading. And then they would take their specials down below, and you can still see options for study, elective, math lab, PE twice a week, Tech Ed once a week, which will actually be once a week for a whole year. And in the current schedule, it was, 27 meetings total over a quarter. So the expansion of that has been extensive. And we still have music and art, which will be twice a week for half a year. This is where you kind of see the real change. The 6th grade schedule, because they still will take language arts and reading, that's not where a lot of the significant change is happening. A majority of the change is happening in 7th and 8th grade. Any more questions? Yes.
Are you done with everything?
Done with that? What parts?
Or are you just done with the schedule part?
I'm done with
You're
everything.
done with, okay, then my question goes back to the homework that you were.
Yes.
So where are our kids in terms of how they're, because I know it's a constant conversation of how they're feeling about homework. Is it too much? Is it too little? Is it?
It really is by student. I guess, it's, we have students who say to us that it's a non-issue, that they are, that it wasn't as bad as they expected coming from Neary to Trotter. I think the 6th grade team, for example, does a lot of interesting things in order to kind of make that transition a little smoother. Some students have taken advantage of study time tremendously and have walk out of here with a priority list and have been able to manage it. Some students, for whether it's organizational reasons, the rigor of their courses, the work ethic, are really grinding it out 2 to 3, 4 hours a night, So we need to calibrate that, and I think those conversations have been happening at team level, and we want that to continue to happen. I think we had a nice conversation about making homework meaningful. I think it's the classic conversation of quality over quantity, and working through that. And hopefully, with the change of schedule, with the additional time, that may change some of our practices. When you have more instructional time, as Keith said, 7 minutes does not sound like a lot, but I think as teachers are going to adjust their practices, they're going to provide more flexibility in the classroom. They may not have to provide those extension activities at night. So So it's the beginning of a conversation, and I think maybe what we'd like to do is really look at some nights where we just say we're shutting it down, unplug, and use it for a variety of reasons, and really kind of honor that and celebrate that as well. So we need to calibrate it as well. So it's going to start at the team level, get some commonality, get some focus, see how the schedule works with this, and really sharpen our assessment practices as well.
And we've really been listening to families, talk about their struggles with it and their frustrations with it. And I think teachers are very in tune to that, whether they get an email that says that the child spent 3 hours on a project. I promise you that was never the expectation for that, but that's what happened. So I think we're looking at that as well. We're making sure that, I like the word calibration. And every kid, every student's calibration can be a little different. I mean, if they are playing 3 different sports and they're out every night of the week, being able to balance all of it is, something that's really got to be talked about, and that's individualized. Some of our students don't do many things after school, so their opportunities look a little different. So it's not, it's certainly, it goes from the classroom to the home front to the individual child, and it's been a very interesting dialogue that we've started and created. So let's see what we can do. Welcome.
So it looks like 6th grade, you're guaranteed to have at least 2 studies a week, directed study?
If I'd say that's pretty fair. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair.
That's good, because I mean, to Mary Beth's point, I know my kid had no studies at least part of the year, so that helps.
Yeah, it will. And I think the other thing we're going to do is if a student winds up with 0 studies, but they really need it, we are going to be flexible with the other things that students have and take. Maybe they won't take math lab. Maybe they won't go to that band workshop because they have a private lesson after school, and they don't necessarily need that additional work with their instrument. We're going to look at things like that as options as we discover, a particular child's overwhelmed.
What about resources? I mean, do you have resources you need to pull all this off, and especially with the new science sort of curriculum?
Yeah, I did mention it, but I mentioned it pretty fast. We are incredibly fortunate to have what we believe is a wonderful start of resources between hardware and software, and we're looking at different spaces in the building to provide these types of experiences. So I'm feeling right now, if all goes well, we are going to be very well outfitted for the start of the year, and we're very fortunate to have that opportunity. Feeling good about it. Lot to manage though. We'll be all right.
Busy summer.
We got a lot going on, which is fun and exciting, but it's going to be an interesting start to the year.
Great. Anything else?
No, I think it's great because, everyone has always thought Trout Air is a good school, and it's nice to see just, not resting on that and trying to be, not, I hate the word cutting edge, but keep up with current standards and trying to give our kids the newest and best stuff together.
Really trying, but and then at the same,
At
you
the
want to
same
do
time, you
that,
don't want
you don't
to.
want to get rid of that
Exactly.
good base experience that you had.
Well,
So-
and we can go for all the bells and whistles, but they're still middle school and they need the basics. They
That's
still
right.
have to have the core learning, and so we're in fact expanding on the core learning at the same time, trying to with the STEM program and the new technology, trying to make sure that they are learning the new type of
Absolutely.
technology. So it seems like a great balance of making sure we have the focusing on the core learning.
And that's certainly the charge as we go, and if we look at it in a year and we aren't getting what we really wanted to gain, we'll tweak, make
That's
adjustments. And it's going to be a 2 to 3 year reflection. I think we're committed to it for, at least that amount of time to ensure we do have the opportunity for growth within. And, I know there'll be tweaks. Every year there's tweaks. Every year we're tweaking our master schedule. I know that it's not necessarily seen, it's behind the scenes. So, doing stuff like this is profound, but we are still keeping that core experience that we want to achieve. So, looking forward to it. Just if it all works. It will.
One more question.
Sure.
I just got texted from home.
You did. Oh boy. Did she reset the DVR?
I hope so.
Are they watching? Mom?
Orchestra and band is 7th grade.
Yes.
But I don't see it on here.
No, it would be where, you see where the elective
Elective.
study?
Okay.
Mrs. Desmond, it will be where elective study is on that piece, and math lab. Students that take typically band, chorus, orchestra, we're not able to get into math lab. So yes, it will be within one of those 4 periods.
You got to keep a representative, but they're all different.
That's right.
Okay.
Right. Thank you, Mrs. Desmond.
Says thank you. All right.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, Gary.
I want to go to Providence.
Eric, Eric.
I can.
Slide that.
Next on the agenda is legislative update. Few of us went to the Day on the Hill event. A little different than the past, but we had quality time with Senator Eldridge and Representative Dykeman. Steve, I don't know if you wanted to talk about that at all? or-
Another successful visit. It was great to have the opportunity to meet one-on-one with the legislative team, and certainly they validated, I guess, many of the conversations that have been ongoing here at school committee meetings about the kinds of bills that we're hoping to see make some movement through the House this year. I did receive an update on the unfunded mandate bill, which was taken up for consideration on just this past Wednesday. And it appears that, unlike last year where it didn't make it past the House, it's moving forward. So that's good news. And where it ends after 4 more cycles of the evaluation of the budget, and the FY 2016 budget, I'm sure we'll be anxious to hear. I did have an occasion to be at the high school this morning where Vice Chair Danielle Gregoire, who is the Vice Chair of Education and Services, provides support, legislative support for our region, did share that there are many issues that are still being taken up by the Education Commission, and that in fact there may be in short order a new sort of configuration of not House, not Senate, but somewhere in between, and that's taking place, and she's not particularly sure how that's going to speed up much of the conversations that we've been having as they translate to the state level, state house level. It may slow things down a bit, so stay tuned and be watchful of that. At the visit to the Day on the Hill, and the talking points are included in the packet as well. Each and every year when we visit the Day on the Hill, the Massachusetts Association of School Committee provides talking points so that when we meet with our legislators, we are never short on talking points. We have a long list when we go in, but in case that we do not, they provide some opportunity for dialogue, and it was great as always to see that so many of what they suggest we should be talking about, we are always talking about, whether it's regional transportation or unfunded mandates or increasing circuit breaker. They still remain on our list and on their list, and there's some indication in the budget cycle so far that there'll be slight increases in both regional transportation, which positively affects our costs at K-8 level, and also increase in circuit breaker slightly. So again, good news, as well as still an increase in Chapter 70. But while we were at the State House, we did invite Senator Eldridge and Representative Dykema to our next superintendent's curriculum workshop on Thursday, tomorrow. It will be held at the high school, and we're very pleased, thanks to Greg's efforts, to have both a representative from the Department of Education from mathematics and also from English language arts join us and really present the origins of the curriculum frameworks and take some questions about the positive changes that have occurred in the new standards, and both Senator Eldridge and Representative Dykema will be attending.
Great.
So it starts at 3:30. We will have 2 presentations, each about 20 minutes long, and time for questions and answers at the end. They did just recently say that they need to leave within 30 minutes, but I think we can get math in there and a few questions answered while they're here with us in district. So good things happening. And we continue to be vigilant around some of the other topics, the kindergarten grant, which thanks to some of our efforts here in district has been funded once again, at least for another year.
Good. Very good. Blaine, do you have anything from the other?
I'm just so impressed with the, I think this is my 6th or 7th, and there's been such a positive evolution of the way these have been received by the legislators, as well as the way the school committees have approached them. That it used to be that we would go and we would all sit in the big session and we would listen and we would hope and pray that maybe, you know, someone from the education committee would come and speak to us. And now it's very much a proactive, we are going and we are getting in to see our specific legislators. And not only are we having a conversation with them, but they're actually asking us really pertinent questions. And like accepting our not only our feedback, but accepting our description of the way things are, the way these mandates affect us, the way these possible legislations are going to impact us. And that's very different than just sitting in a room and everybody voting and thinking that we're, you know, like one big block. It's become very much more a personal, much more effective process. And so my hat's off to MASC, my hat's off to the administration, my hat's off to all of us school committee members who go and make it a very worthwhile day.
I was thinking the exact same thing. You know, we were with Eldridge for about an hour, and then Dykema for about 90 minutes, I think. We pretty much missed the whole program because of that, but I thought it was a much more fruitful discussion. And like you said, I mean, they were asking us a lot of questions, and that's really why it went on so long.
Right.
No, that's good. I mean, when they're that engaged.
Right. I can remember early on going and the legislators almost not even knowing it was Day on the Hill.
Yeah,
just
we
sort of
just
not-
catch
And
them.
now I think it is, you're right, it's an anticipated day on both ends.
Right.
You know, so it's nice, it's great, it's what it's meant to be.
Good. All right, and town meeting recap. Really good town meeting.
Budget passed. No questions asked. I think that was a good meeting. It was, I think it really speaks to the collaboration that takes place all year through, to be able to participate in town meeting, to have, to not have our budget held, no questions, and almost unanimous. I didn't turn around, I didn't want to turn around. I was hoping it was unanimous, but approved and
It wasn't
approved.
even voted on individually, right? It was
So
voted on
it was a great evening, and I think it does speak to, you know, the collaboration with Town Administrator Mark Purple, the Finance Advisory. We had a successful presentation back in February, I think, at this point, before Financial Advisory, the meetings that we attend at 7 o'clock in the morning. And this year, we did provide all of those meetings on our budget calendar, so we can see 2 pages of great collaboration leading up to a very successful town meeting.
Yep. 2 years in a row, the budget wasn't held, and I think the process is working.
But I think it was reflective of your hard work too, Christine, because I know that you worked very hard and you were very prepared. And so I appreciated that and I saw that. So.
Are we good with that? And school choice, we need to vote on this.
And let me make a motion on that. I move that Southborough Schools not participate in school choice for the 2015-2016 school year.
Second.
Any discussion? I think for me, this is a no-brainer, just on the money alone, so.
Well, we've been through this. We went through it last year with Dr. Well, for many years. And it's just really, there's no advantage to Southborough at all.
No, and, you know, what we've also, some people sometimes use it to fill in on grades in which they have low enrollments and such, and especially because the way we do our configurations, we don't have those type of issues. We, you know, even out our classrooms and such, and again, the money, what we're getting for bringing in school choice, it just isn't worth it.
And then one that was brought up, and we don't really, I don't think it was brought up earlier today, Christine, was that once they're finished in 8th grade, what happens then? So, you know, we have regional high school, so it's complicated and it's not really to our advantage.
I don't think it lends itself to the
Right.
configuration of our district as a
Right.
whole, or the way our district does classrooms, and then the fact that we have regional schools, it's just not.
And we monitor, you know, we see each month and we look at the enrollments. There is great fluctuations throughout the year when folks come into the district, and we've seen our numbers increase. And so we want to maintain our class sizes for our students. And this is one variable that may impact that, our ability to do that.
We ready to vote then? All in favor? Opposed? Abstention? All right. Old business, cable studio update.
Throughout this past year, we have been hopeful that the Southborough Access Media Cable group, board, entity would be entertaining joining us as a partner in our schools. And I'm pleased to announce that after, on their part, almost a year of analyzing and viewing and being courted, if you will, by other folks, they have decided to consider Trotter Middle School as their new home. We will now, knowing that, we will now engage in a bid process which is required under the procurement laws in the state of Massachusetts, specifically 30B. And we are very hopeful that once this process is completed, we will have a very close neighbor located in the Trotter Middle School. From time to time, we've talked about the advantages that this provides for our students. Keith and Gary just presented an incredibly innovative approach to scheduling that provides opportunities for students, not only in increased academic learning time, but also in how we take a look at our electives. And when we look at that schedule and we think about the possibilities, we can easily see how that will become part of the offerings. As we know, they're interested in partnering with us around educational opportunities for students, which could become a very exciting elective for our students to take it at Trotter. So we're very hopeful that the bid process will yield positive results and move forward with perhaps Sam's located at the Trotter School with a great identified space. Again, appreciation to the Trotter staff, Principal Lavoie and Gary Hershak in helping us find the great space. Mary Beth was part of that process as a school committee representative, and I think they agreed that this would be the perfect community resource as well as school resources for Southborough.
I think, I think it's great. I'm very pleased that they've chosen us. I just, as someone who's both on the school board, but still also a citizen of the town and a taxpayer and somebody who pays the BIOS or cable bill, it just makes so much sense, and I think it's a great community move to have our Southborough cable that's paid for by the Southborough people in our schools, giving our children other opportunities, but also their expansion to give members of the town other opportunities too. By them expanding their space and what they have available, I think it's just it's great for everybody in the town, and it just makes sense to have them. And I think expanding. You have enough going on, I know, with your schedule and stuff. So we'll give you a year or two on this one, but okay. But no, it'll be great, even from even if it's not part of the actual schedule, that maybe it's going to be a club after school or those kind of things that that we have the opportunity.
And that's where the excitement's really going to come.
Exactly.
I mean, just like other programs and groups have come into the school, and I think one of the things I pride our staff on is very welcoming of groups into our building. This is just another opportunity for that. So I've already built relationships with Sam's in different ways, and we've been kind of hoping for this opportunity. So now that it's becoming real, I got to set up another meeting. I mean, we got to get going on some of this stuff. So looking forward to it, really.
Yeah. I think it's neat, and you know what, and I've always, going back, the philosophy of Trotter has always been, to engage each child and find something that's of interest for them, because that's such a critical middle school year, and to now have this as one more area that I just think it could be something that I think will really capture the attention of some of the children. And then the nice thing is they can step to Algonquin, and the cable studios in Algonquin, and I think it will be a great segue between the two, and probably help it take on Algonquin too. So I think it's really neat. It's great. I'm glad. I hope it all works out.
More information. The bid process will extend into the month of June, but we're hopeful again that we'll have the outcome that we all desire. just to have them part of us in September.
Very good. And kindergarten study group.
Earlier this year, we had a number of parents come forth and wanted to revisit the notion of how our kindergarten program is offered. Principal Randall was very much a part of the conversation. Assistant Superintendent was also a participant, and we met with them probably 4 or 5 times throughout the year. We've given updates in terms of the conversation and the discussions that have transpired around curriculum and funding and access and all of the kinds of conversations that would take place around an analysis of current programming. We did share with them early on that this would not be part of sort of an FY 2016 budget discussion, and that we would reach out to them shortly after the budget was passed at town meeting. And the very next day, I received a phone call, which shows their energy and passion and interest in getting together and really collaborating with the school. And we've discussed creating not a kindergarten study group, but a kindergarten feasibility study. And we're hoping to launch that. I have a proposed membership only based on, very much conversations in the infancy in terms of what this would look like. And at this point, with input from the school committee, we're hopeful that we'll have 5 parents, and I think hopeful is a no doubt. I've received several emails from parents again today looking for information and how we were going to proceed and so forth. So there's a lot of energy around this topic. And one member from school council, from Jim's school council, a member from SOS, a member from perhaps the Southborough Financial Advisory or another town board to be coordinated through Mark Purple. We already have our school committee representative because I think she volunteered early on in the season and cleared that. So we're absolutely thrilled that she's come forward and is equally as excited. And then central office administrators to provide important information in the decision-making process as a community member. And we're hopeful that we will be meeting 4 or 5 times throughout the summer. The intent to have information to share with the school committee in terms of a strategy, a proposal, or even just the facts and the research report that's been compiled. We'll be looking at curriculum. We'll be looking at obviously the financial implications, and we will be looking at what our neighbors are doing in terms of kindergarten. There are a lot of changes out there at this point, and I think the discussion around the kindergarten grant brought a little bit more heightened sense of awareness in terms of what the future might hold in terms of funding. So it will be an exciting conversation, and look forward to it. And I don't know if there's some thoughts or some suggestions about membership. We're hoping to at least have our initial meeting for school, at least in maybe May, early June, before school dismisses, so we can develop our summer planning. We're going to try to use technology to make it happen so that we can meet remotely, maybe in messaging, Google Room or Google Doc, Google House or Google Hangout. Google Hangout.
All right.
We've tried it
Good.
a couple times, so we're going to hang out
Thanks for the
together.
cake.
I was about to back up.
So you can hang out with us remotely.
Okay.
So it's going to be exciting.
Very good. Anything else on that? All right. Brings us to the superintendent's report to the committee, fiscal 15 budget.
Winding down the FY15 budget, and we just talked about the FY 2016, and before we know it, we'll be expending that. But in the meantime, we have the FY 2015 budget, and we'll need a vote to approve. As always, no significant variances to report at this time, but it is moving closer to the end of the year, so we're keeping a watchful eye over expenditures. Cheryl, by the way, will be back fresh from the Massachusetts Association of Business Official Conference with more, hopefully not more unfunded mandate and regulations, but certainly more updates to share, and it's always a phenomenal conference. Something really, really worth attending, and we all benefit from that. That's where Cheryl is, but don't be concerned, there's a pile of warrants to sign.
I noticed that.
She's left them.
We've got yellow folders.
Yellow folders, plenty of them.
All right. Anybody want to make a motion on the budget?
Motion to approve the Southborough Public School District financial report of April 30th, 2015 until audited.
Until audited.
Very good.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Abstention? And enrollments?
Updated enrollments are in the packets. It's interesting to note that we have an increase overall over the month. We talked about fluctuations a little bit earlier, and we are up at this point with this report since opening our doors last August.
I think it's 1,300.
1,300.
And how's the kindergarten class doing? I mean, I think
It's pretty evened out. We still have people coming in,
yeah.
but we're about the number that we had.
Was that 135? Was it
No,
as high as
no, it's
125? Right?
It's between 118 and 128.
Okay.
The 128, typically you have anywhere between 10 and 15 students that may register for school after
Yeah.
regular registrations. So that's what we're seeing now is kind of that pickup. So we're still about probably 120-ish.
Okay.
Lots of houses on the market.
Yeah, it's tough.
And the
Lots of
FY16
houses.
projections are in your packet as
Yeah.
well.
Good. Educational policy? None at this time, is that right?
That's correct.
We have one policy for distribution.
It's been a busy year on policy.
Yes.
I will share that I think we have sent a doodle. For those of you who are part of the combined policy subcommittee meeting, we will be meeting prior to the Algonquin School Committee meeting next Wednesday as a follow-up from our last combined meeting, which I think was just last week. So we will be meeting at, I believe it's 5 o'clock.
Okay, so that is confirmed then. That will be 5 o'clock.
And personnel items?
Personnel report is in your packets.
How's the search going?
The search, we have our finals moving forward. We have search committee for the Director of Student Support Services has disbanded, and I do have individuals that I'm in the process of interviewing. I'm hopeful that before Memorial Day arrives, we will have the arrival of our proposed Director of Student Support Services will precede that event. So we're in the process of making candidates.
Very good. Communications, still none? All right.
Yes, I did have an update on the curriculum advisory workshop, but we covered that under our legislative update, given the number of legislators that will be there. Worth repeating, though, it is tomorrow.
Yep.
3:30, Algonquin.
No plans, 3:30 to the high school.
And action on minutes from last month.
We do have corrected minutes. I did distribute them earlier. We had 2 folks there in spirit, but apparently not physically present. So they're always with us, even though they're not here in person. So we did have two edits.
Okay. I want a motion to accept these.
Motion to accept the minutes of Wednesday, April 8th, 2015.
Second.
Any discussion?
As revised.
As revised.
Any discussion, any more changes? All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Carries. Bills and payrolls, we have a few.
It's my Vanna White impression.
Agenda items for next month.
Maybe table update.
Update.
Student support services update. Kindergarten update. you.
Anything else? I think that brings us to our second audience share. Anybody have anything to share? Anybody have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?